This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 167. In today's episode, we talk about leveraging change and stability at the personal level during these crazy times. Don't miss this one.
Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage Polarity Intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself.
Hi, everybody. It's your lucky day. We're back for another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, and I'm Tracy.
And I am Michelle. Welcome back.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. High energy in the studio today. We're feeling good.
We are. We've been in here all day long.
Yep. It's been fun.
It has been. And if you're listening and you want to check us out on YouTube, you know, we are on YouTube now too, so you can see us and listen to us.
Yeah, you can actually tell who's who.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a guest interview this week, and she's like, "Oh, now I get to see who's who," because she only listens to us.
Yeah.
So we have options. We have options.
Lots of options. Check us out.
Okay, well,
what are we talking about today?
Oh, today we are talking about leveraging the change and stability polarity as a true, thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leader.
Wow, change and stability.
Change and stability. Yep, it is a crux polarity in our organizations, which we talk about quite a bit. But today we're bringing it down to a personal level, how we manage it personally as leaders.
Wow. You know, there's been a lot of change lately.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? Over the last couple of years, it's been nothing but change. Nothing but change. Yeah. Well, there's been a little bit of stability, but there's been a lot of change.
There has been a lot of change. And of course, all of the change in the world and the change in the organizations, you know, it has great impact on you as a person, as a human being, and as a leader. Yeah. And we know that leaders are dealing with ongoing challenges and changes every single day.
Yeah.
And, you know, your attention's been on the next crisis, the next decision that you have to make. And, you know, we're saying in this episode, it's time to turn the attention on you.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, what we've been hearing is, you know, there's no normal.
There's no normal.
Normal is stability, right? Mm-hmm. And when there's no normal, that just means you're in that chaos and that constant change state, right? And people are looking for the stability.
Right. So our question today is, how do you navigate all that change and maintain stability in your life? Because we know it's critically important. It's very important for your well-being and for your effectiveness.
Right.
As a leader.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. And so as one of our favorite quotes has been, always will be, by Gandhi, is be the change you want to see in the world. So as you're in this spot right now with all the change going on, we want you to think about, before we even start, you know, being the change you want to see in the world right now. To Tracy's point, we hear all the time, what is the new normal going to be? Well, it's about you creating it for yourself and creating it with the people around you. And now's the time to do that, to start thinking about that.
Yeah. And, you know, you're in the midst of a lot of change. You don't know there's no normal, right? And what is the new normal going to be? But that's also calling for you to change.
Exactly.
Because you have to grow and evolve as things in your environment change. You have to change as well, right? And so it really is getting to that personal level and thinking about how do I change and evolve into the leader that is needed in this moment, right? In this precipice.
Time.
I mean, we're like in this incredible moment in time. And how do I leverage change and stability to do that? And, step one is recognize that it is a polarity change, and stability is a polarity. You need both. They're equally important. You kind of like find yourself in this chaos, right, of change, of this, but it's managing that, right? It's managing it at the personal level, managing it at the organization level, and making sure you have both, right? Recognizing that you need to have both. Even though there's change in your environment, you're being called to change as well. And you might think, right, that that's the only place it's happening is at the organizational level. But we got news for you. Right? You want to change. And thriving, resilient, unstoppable leaders recognize that. They're not afraid of additional change at the personal level. They're actually inviting that because they're becoming thriving, resilient, unstoppable leaders. They've got the bandwidth. They've got the margin, right? They're managing that. They know they need to up their game. They want to up their game. And they're doing the work they need to do that, right? And so they are looking for, what do I need to maintain in my life to keep me stable, to keep me grounded? And at the same time, they know they can't just stay there, that they're being called to do bigger things and to be, to be a different kind of leader in this moment, right? They've never had to do this. And some of the emerging leaders certainly have never had to do that, right? So they're finding out who they are as a leader and changing as the environment changes. And they also know they have the agency to create boundaries, to prioritize things that will bring stability to them, that will keep them grounded while they move through the change. And, it's a both and they're able to leverage that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So if you're like most healthcare leaders that we talk with on a weekly basis, you're really living in that downside of change right now. And so that can leave you feeling really exhausted. The whole world is just, your world is chaotic, right? Yeah. You're just been living in this state of chaos all the time.
Everything's swirling.
And there's no familiar go-tos. Like what you used to do doesn't work anymore. Yep. So if you don't change, it's going to be really, really painful. And many leaders have to let go of, they've let go of their personal rituals. They let go of the things that they would do on a regular basis. They've dropped the stability in this chaos of change that's been going on, both because of the pandemic and then all of the sequela, all of the workload factors. And so the things like spending time with friends, maybe exercising, just any little ritual routine that you used to do that brought stability in your life, it's kind of just gone on the wayside while you've been in this state.
Right. Trying to answer the call, right? Like you're just trying to step up. Your intentions are to do the right thing. But you also have let go of some things that might bring stability. So you got to have both.
Have to have
to
both.
Your point. So the real issue isn't whether or not change is going to impact you. We know that it will. The real issue is whether or not you're going to take charge. You're going to step up, right? Take the agency and make the changes that you need to make yourself, right? And leverage the opportunity to create the necessary changes in your life at work and at home to be able to be that leader to move forward in the manner that's going to really be most effective, right? And, there's some pain points or some worries that you might have, right, when it comes to change. So the challenge for many leaders is justifying putting themselves first. Right? Again, prioritizing your needs, your health, your well-being. Or are you worried that you're letting other people down, right? When you're not present every moment, when you're not there to answer the call, when you're not doing everything possible, right, to make everything better for everybody else at home and at work, right? There's that worry that you're letting people down. You're afraid you're failing. And you wonder like how much more you can take, right? And you know that something has to change.
Yep. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Something's got to change, right? And so, you've got that when it comes to the change worries. And it just worries you to think you have to go through more change. Right? I already got enough change. I don't want to do more change, but sometimes you got to do that, right?
It's inevitable. It really is. And when it comes to stability, I think the thing for leaders right now is they really do want this new normal. Like I think when we listen to leaders now, they're like ready for let's just move into a stability phase. Let's move into a new normal. But no one knows what that looks like yet. Mm-mm. And so that's kind of leaves a little bit of worry and uncertainty, it's ambiguous. What's it going to look like, right?
Yeah, a lot of ambiguity.
Yep. And then also, they don't really recognize how important it is to keep some stability in their life right now. But again, to Tracy's point, you've been leading the charge as leaders, so you really don't realize how important it is to keep the little things in your life that do keep stability there. And that could be making decisions that maybe aren't good as far as maintaining stability, like canceling important meetings because of everything that's going on, or making decisions to cancel events. But maybe those things are really helpful for people to keep things going so everything isn't changing, as an example.
I think something that comes up for me is, often many organizations have shared governance councils, right? Where they engage the staff in owning what's happening in the environment and leading the practice initiatives. But oftentimes when things get chaotic and there's a lot of change and all the resources are needed, they cancel those calls. But yet on the other side, they're worried about the engagement of the staff. So that's an example. Sometimes you've got to maintain some of those things in order to get that outcome that you want, to keep the engagement alive, to keep people engaged and partnering with you in making the changes that need to happen, right? And so that's an element of stability. Sometimes too, we're in the midst of so much change, we forget what has remained stable.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just stepping back to say, wait a minute, what hasn't changed that really supports us as a team or supports me as an individual, right? I might have experienced a lot of change, but what has stayed stable, and just recognizing it sometimes is enough. Right. You don't have to do more things. You just need to recognize what is stable.
Right.
Because it comforts you.
And you need to call it out.
Call it out,
right?
Yep.
So in our work with healthcare leaders, there are key elements in our dynamic balance effect framework that really helps true leaders, as Tracy mentioned, with making mindful choices about their identity and really who they need to be, getting clear on their values, and resetting their vision for themselves. These are all things that help with change. And the other one is in our pillar number 2, which is Polarity Intelligence. We can really look at that tension between change and stability and understand how it works and then leverage that as well. So as you're seeking balancing change and stability in your life, you can be intentional on who you want to be moving forward. Again, creating the new you in the new time, and also focusing on, what you want to do. What is your new desired outcome at a very personal level? What kind of leader do you want to be, and what kind of leader do you see yourself actually taking action in for your desired outcome? And that over time you can balance that, taking action on change with also action steps to bring stability into your life too. So you can be intentional, be clear in your outcomes, and maintain stability while you are changing.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. True healthcare leaders do that.
Yep.
They leverage both change and they prioritize. It's not like you undergo every change you need to undergo, right? But you choose, you prioritize. So they prioritize what's the most important change I can make in my personal life right now that's going to take me to that next step, that next level that I want to go to. And what is the most important things to maintain from a stability perspective, right? And they build their plan, their strategy around that, right? So they prioritize. They don't try to take it all on at once, and they don't try to keep everything stable.
Right.
So 3 change actions that you can take. Think and dream big, right? Think about the future. Be a forward thinker. Dream big. Now's not the time to limit your thinking. Now is the opportunity.
It is.
Oh, there's so much opportunity in front of you as a leader. Know the most positive outcomes that you want in your life, and what you want professionally as well as what you want personally in your life. Write it down. There's a lot of power in just getting that clarity of putting pen to paper and just writing out, scripting out, what is it that you really want? Dream big. keep your attention on that so you can identify what kind of leader you want to be or need to be to achieve those kinds of outcomes, right? Personally, professionally, in your organization.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's good to think about what all this change, what's it been informing you?
Yeah.
Because this is a time of creativity right now too, right?
Yeah. You're creating the new normal.
You are.
You're inventing it. It's kind of like I think about, I drive back and forth across the country twice a year, usually with my husband as we're, heading west for the winter and then coming back. And I'm always amazed. I'm always looking at the landscape and thinking about the pioneers. And I've been saying this a lot in our podcast recently, but they had no idea what was in front of them when they set out in their wagons on foot where they were headed, right? They just had some kind of vision of what that life would be like. But at every step, right, they had to recreate, they had to develop, they had to make decisions, they had to keep moving forward. Is this where we stop? Do we keep going? And I really see leaders today being in that situation. Mm-hmm. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't even know what's going to happen today, right? So that's what's being called for, to that pioneering spirit, to, wow, this is looking at it as an adventure rather than, right, a problem or a set of challenges and struggles, right? And then the second thing you can do is, who do you need to be to get there? Like, think about who those pioneers were. Oh my gosh. You know what? Most of us can't even walk to the grocery store, you guys.
It's sad.
Now think about the perseverance, the courage, the boldness, right, that these individuals had that founded the United States, right? Like, I mean, it's just incredible. That who do you need to be? What are the characteristics you need to embody? That's a change to take on because everything follows that. If you're not being that leader, you won't take the actions that leader would take, right? All the dreams that you just wrote down won't happen if you're not being the person to make that come true. So you want to, what are those characteristics that you need to embody to do that? And then take baby steps toward the outcomes that you want. So, the dream's not going to come true tomorrow. The new normal's not going to happen tomorrow, right? But what's the next step that I need to take, right? And it doesn't have to be a significant leap. It can just be baby steps. Just take the small steps every day. And what's the next one after that? And what's the next one after that? It's when you've got your eyes on all of it that it seems overwhelming. When you got your eyes on all the change that's happening, it's overwhelming, right? And overwhelm's a choice. So choose not to focus it. Choose on the next step. What's the next best thing we can do, right, to get to that new normal, to create the stability. You're creating the stability in the process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly
both
right.
Personally and organizationally.
See, change is exciting.
I'm excited.
I am too.
Can't wait to see what you guys do.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? Today, September 21st, 2022, is the last day to enroll in the Leadership Survival Bootcamp. If you have been listening to our podcast for a while, you know that Tracy and I are zeroing in on helping healthcare leaders like you deal with your exhaustion and burnout from escalating demands, resource challenges, and the pain and anger of the staff. If you are feeling exhausted at the end of the day, conflicted and reactive, then we guarantee you are doing one or more of the following: putting everyone's needs before your needs, staying late at work or bringing more work home with you, missing opportunities to recharge, like spending time with loved ones. You cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. That is why you need to enroll in the Leadership Survival Bootcamp today. No one can prioritize your health and well-being for you. Registration closes at 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time tonight. Stop the vicious cycle and go over to missinglogic.com/new-events and secure your spot in the bootcamp today. But there's also stability action steps that are equally important. One's not more important than the other. No. So one is to revisit your values, and this is a great time to do that. And this is an exercise that Tracy and I do. It's really in the beginning of our TRU Healthcare Leader Coaching Program. And it's very powerful because we've been so busy doing and living in this crisis that we haven't stopped to reflect and go back to our values. And so we do an exercise where we have leaders think about and write down their top 10 values. And then we take them through this visualization exercise, and they have to give up one value at a time. And it's hard. And we get them down to their top 3 values. And it's a great exercise because it gives you clarity, again, on what matters most to you. And when we do an evaluation of our coaching program, more than once, many times, people say that is a standout for them. Going through that exercise was just extremely helpful. And leaders realize they haven't been making their decisions based on their personal values. So when it comes to your personal transformation, that is a great place to begin. And it's powerful because it grounds you in what matters most. And that brings stability. When we think about grounding, that stability, it's that anchor. Your values are your anchors. They're the guardrails in your life that keep you stable because you're grounded.
Yeah. Well, you know what matters most.
Yeah.
And you're operating from that place.
Yep.
You don't drift.
Yeah.
Right. You're not adrift in the sea of all the challenges and the things that you're experiencing. You're very clear.
Yeah. So, and we walk our talk. So one of my top values is spirituality. And so every morning I have Michelle time, quiet time, and it's the time that I have just for myself to do reflections, readings, prayer time. And it's sacred time for me. And I do it every single day. And it helps my stability in my life. And if I haven't gone without that in a long time now, but I know I have. And that's when things get real wobbly for me. I feel like I'm not on steady ground anymore. So it's extremely important. And I know you live one of your values every day,
well-being is my top value because I know that if I am not well and healthy, then I am not any good. I'm not going to be able to do and bring what I need to bring to the world, right? So it's my top value. And so, I exercise, I'm eating healthy, I'm taking care of my body, I'm paying attention to my mental health, my emotional health, and my physical health, because that's what makes me whole. And again, I prioritize all of those activities every single day.
Yeah. So revisit your values and look at what mindful choices and actions you can take for those to bring stability into your life. A second action step is gratitude and reflection time. So this helps you to pause and be grateful for what is in your life now in the midst of all of the change, so that you just don't miss it. You don't miss all the good stuff that's happening right now too. And we call it the fullness of the moments that are happening every day all around you. And that also helps bring stability into your life. What people are you grateful for? What experiences are you grateful for? What are you learning where you are right now? There's a lot of learnings and lessons that you could also benefit from. So keep a reflection journal. Write down your gratitudes. Write down what you're learning. That can also be a stability factor in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And the third one is to check in with others. So knowing you're not alone as you're going through this can really bring stability as well. And we've experienced that with the teams of leaders that we've been working with. It means so much to them that they're not alone. And so just look at your community, look at that support network. How is that helping you? Check in with your best friend. Tracy and I check in with each other every day. Check in with family members, your spouse or partner. Very, very powerful. And those check-ins can be planned or they can be unplanned. But you're setting intention to check in with each other. And sometimes you just got to listen to your gut when it's time to have a check-in. Like, I think it's good if we check in right now.
Well, they keep you connected to what matters most in your life, right?
They do.
And it's, that those connections and those relationships that will keep you stable. So,
speaking, Tracy brought up, being an entrepreneur, we're going through a lot of stability and change all the time. So I don't know if that was this episode or another episode, but anyway, I digress. We've been talking all day long.
She had a moment.
I did have a moment.
That's okay. What were you going to say? You're going off-roading?
Well, what I was going to say is, with all of us, if a growing business, just like there's chaos in healthcare environments, there's chaoses in businesses. But what's kept us stable is our weekly meetings. And we start every weekly meeting with a check-in. Just how are we doing? What do we need to know? What do we need to check in with each other? So that's very stable. And then my husband and I have a check-in every week. So it can be personal check-ins, business check-ins, organizational check-ins. check-ins are stability factors.
Oh, they are. They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping you connected.
Yes.
All right. So our call to action for this episode is know your preference poll. Okay. Now, if you remember, in polarities, we kind of tend to have a preference. We usually have a little bit more, lean maybe a little bit more one way, sometimes a lot. And, like you may be adverse to change. You may hate change. We were on the phone with a leader the other day who said, I love change. I live for change. Change is just so exciting and energizing for me. So definitely that would be a preference poll for change, right? So it's just important to recognize, what do you prefer a little bit, more than the other, change or stability? Maybe you're somebody that I just like everything to be the same, consistent. I don't like change. That would be your preference. Okay. And you can have a preference and still recognize the value of the opposite or other pole. It doesn't mean that you don't. It's just that you tend to lean a little bit more or enjoy more of that, the outcomes of that pole. Okay. No right or wrong around that. Just recognize it. The reason we say that is because sometimes you can be blind to the benefits of the other pole. Sometimes you have such a strong preference for one that it's difficult to see the benefits of the other, or you fear losing what you value about the pole that you prefer. So just be aware, because it influences your bias. It brings forth your bias, your thinking, right? So just be aware. That's all. Just that lesson is for just awareness. Then establish a dual action strategy. So when you're looking to have stability and change, know what that means to you. What are the outcomes of that? And create a strategy like we brought forth. What are the actions you're going to do to maintain stability? What are the actions you're going to do to create change in your life as a leader, in your personal life, or professionally and personally, as you're growing in this time and trying to become, this leader that can manage the challenges of the current situation. Also, you want to think about setting timelines and planning accordingly, right? So, for example, do you want these outcomes and changes immediately? What's the timeline for the change that you're looking to see in your life, either personally or professionally? Give yourself some grace, right? Be guided intuitively on what is the right timeline. And you know what? You have agency. So if you set a timeline and it takes a little longer, let it go. If you get there early, woohoo, right? Like just let go of your attachment to the timeline, but have some kind of idea, because that impacts how frequently you're taking the actions, what you're doing to get those outcomes. So just kind of be aware. And then find an accountability partner. That is extremely helpful when you have somebody that you can say, hey, I'm trying to create this change in my life, or I'm trying to maintain this level of stability in my life. I really need an accountability partner. If it's a morning routine, if it's an exercise routine, if it's something that's feeding you, right, and helping you maintain that stability, the connection with the person, have somebody that will help you check in and just say, yeah, hey, you know what? I did that. Like I have my health coach. I send her what I eat every night and how much exercise I've done. Keeps me on track, right? Like, so I'm checking in every day. I'm letting her know, here's what I did. And I'm like, hey man, I don't want to send something that says I didn't do anything, right? Or I ate really crappy, right? So, you got to keep it real. But when you have an accountability, kind of helps you stay on track and on target for what you need, right? So that's just another way, to kind of help you live those intentions and make those action steps a reality in your life, right?
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk what happens when you don't. Yuck. Yeah, without a personal change and stability strategy, you can really feel powerless. You can feel stuck. And you're at risk for change happening to you instead of you leading the change in your own life. So it's really important to be aware of, both professionally and personally. And, who wants to come through this pandemic with all of these changes and just being unhappy because you didn't move the needle, and you're full of regrets because you didn't leverage the opportunities. So leading change starts at the personal level, and it is really the first step of transformation, of personal transformation.
It is. So imagine prioritizing your needs right? Yourself, creating your own master plan or blueprint of your future for stability and change, and leveraging that so extremely well in your life, and stepping out boldly with a new vision of who you are as a leader in these tumultuous times, right? Like just, wow, like being the change that you want to see in your world and in your life, and doing that with style and grace, because you have that stability that you need to support you in the midst of the change that's coming. And we have so many leaders, right, leveraging this time to grow, empower themselves, to change, to step into being that thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader, right? Just sets our lives on fire, like it just lights us up,
it
right?
does.
To watch people take on this challenge, right? To say, I'm going to be that. I'm going to do that. I want to help my team. I want to lead the way, and to put the things in place that they really need to put in place to be that leader.
Well, I think what's really exciting and why our fire is lit is what we're doing isn't what we learned in Management 101 or Leadership 101. This is a whole new way of thinking and being. And balancing change and stability is just one piece of a lot.
Multitude of polarities that you need to leverage.
All kinds of them.
Yeah.
All kinds of them.
Yeah.
So these true healthcare leaders, they make mindful choices based on their values and their identity of who they want to be. And they do know how to create the action strategies and to do it in a stepping stone, almost kind of fashion, where they get closer and closer and closer. So they're aligned with their vision. They're living their purpose. And they know how to ask for help. And they know when to ask for help from each other, and certainly how to ask help from us, their coaches.
Yeah. Well, and they know if it's going to be, it's up to them.
Yeah.
To make it happen. Nobody's going to do this for them.
That's right.
Right. And they're focused on the things that they can control and the things that they can do for themselves and for others, to make it a reality. So they get it, right? They get it.
Yep.
And we're super excited to be on the journey with them. And, wherever you're at as a leader right now is perfect, right? Like we're not here to fix anybody, right? We're just here to kind of share some different ways of thinking, some different approaches and ways to look at what's happening right now, what it can mean to you as a leader, and provide some resources to help you. And you can pick up anything we lay down, right? Or you don't have to. But
choice.
It's your choice.
Your choice.
We just feel privileged to be on the journey with those that are, learning and leveraging what we're bringing. And we just want to help. That's all. We're just here to help. So we're really grateful that you listen to us, that you're hanging out with us. If you found this helpful, let us know how. Drop us a note in any of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, we're there. You can even email us if you want. We'd be happy to hear from you. But, and share it. Share it with other people. If you found it helpful, you know what? You're not alone. If you're dealing with this, other people are dealing with it. Share it with them, just spread the word. We're happy to have that happen. And if you'd like, more tips on how to become a thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leader, you can sign up for our newsletter. We put tips in our newsletter. You can go to missinglogic.com/newsletter and connect with us there and subscribe. And just remember, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. You've got this. You can do it. We're here if you need help. We're just glad you were here. We were happy to be here. This is the end of another incredible episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, if I don't say so myself.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
We'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and leverage that change and stability in your life.
Yes. Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.
Before you go, we want to let you know that the registration for the Leadership Survival Bootcamp is now open. If you are like most healthcare leaders we talk to, you have been feeling exhausted, conflicted, and burned out. And unfortunately, it looks like things are worse than they were during the height of the pandemic. We know taking time out to participate in a boot camp is the last thing you feel you can add to your plate, yet we are talking about your survival at this point.
We know you're dealing with many different challenges with the ongoing pandemic, managing staffing challenges, and constantly navigating uncertainty and ambiguity. But not taking time to add a new tool to your toolbox, learn a new skill, and gain new insights will only guarantee you'll keep experiencing what you're experiencing right now. Being the best leader you can be begins with surviving the next few months. Unlike a typical boot camp, we work with healthcare leaders to develop their personal survival blueprint in a fun and engaging way. And every session is recorded, so you can easily catch up if you miss a session. Go over to missinglogic.com/new-events to enroll in the boot camp today and join other leaders like you who are determined to survive and be the best leader they can be. Enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.